So about 3 years ago, we started on a journey, which was to change our way of thinking about infrastructure, and was introduced as 42 on, which is true, but I'm the CTO now of the Fairbanks International Group, which is Fairbanks and 42 on. We do basically large-scale open source infrastructures based on OpenStack, Ceph, and Kubernetes. And for Kubernetes, we made the switch, obviously, to the best possible solution, Talos. In this area, in this space, we sort of compete with VMware. Of course, we are not VMware, but it's similar solutions. So I thought I'd share with you how we view that, and also talk a little bit about the journey, how we got to the platform that we use now, and what we learned along the way. So everybody's aware, I think, who here has VMware? All right. Who here has never seen Talos in production or? Okay, so everybody's aware of why you use Talos for the most part. So, of course, Broadcom just completely changed the entire industry regarding virtualization, how do you do private clouds, all of that, because for most organizations, the hypervisor layer is just where it starts. You have solved your infrastructure problems. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's a simple solution called VMware, and we're fine. We're doing all the complexity on top of it, and then you have to change it. I'm switching one slide, but so with that in mind, if you have a small-scale environment, the problem is also probably a little bit small-scale. But as it scales up, as you have more and more and more and more compute, the problem becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not just about feature comparison between solutions. So you start to think about what's my strategy and what's my tactic. We usually hear now from existing customers that also have some VMware or new contacts that just have VMware and need something else. The timeline is usually somewhere between 1.5 years, 2 years, somewhere around there. I don't know if that's recognizable by anybody trying to move away from VMware, but that's when the existing contracts end, and you need to have something else in the meantime. So there are 3 basic tactics that you can do. You can stay on VMware and just pay the price. I'm not here to talk about that. Then you have just containerize your workloads. You have solved your problems. You don't need virtual machines anymore. It's nice. That's where we want to go, I think. Also for us, it's the future we want. But it's time-consuming. Everybody that's working on it needs those skill sets. And there's a bunch of more reasons why that might be a risk. Then you can talk about re-virtualization or whatever you want to call it, but just sort of lift and shift, which is nice because the paradigm stays very close. You don't need to change everything, everybody, everywhere. The timelines are much more predictable because of the skill sets, but nobody wants to reinvest everything into something similar, having everybody change around their thoughts and then do it again. So you feel like you do it once now, and probably in the next years again. Our way of thinking about this is, can you unify that? So just do a pull request with those 2 tactics, merge, see where the conflicts are, and go. So you say for the hypervisor part, but for large-scale hypervisor, and small-scale hypervisor, I just saw a talk, really interesting way of thinking about KubeVirt. But KubeVirt virtualization is how many of you are using it, KubeVirt? Yeah. So it's a really nice solution. It's really, really cool. It merges the concepts of containerization and virtualization into one paradigm, which is really great, but it's still a paradigm rooted in Kubernetes. Then we have OpenStack, of course. OpenStack is the big cloud solution for infrastructure as a service. So if I have many parts of the organization trying to orchestrate some parts of the infrastructure, it's a really good solution. But it's also sort of complex. That's his nickname, I think, in the industry. It's complex. The cool thing about that one is it ends up being a KVM virtual machine. So technologically, they use the same hypervisor, just like the rest of the world, except for Microsoft and VMware. So everything out there that creates a virtual machine probably uses KVM in the back end, either a normal one or some form of it. I know AWS does some interesting stuff with it. I'm saying this because in the conversation around VMware migrations, from our side, I think, and with our side, I mean people that are rooted in open source and know this, you understand what KVM is, but everybody else doesn't know it, and there's a trust issue. Can I trust this hypervisor? Well, it runs the world, so. On the storage side, we use Ceph, and Ceph has been saying for the last 10 to 15 years, I think, that is the future of storage. But the future is now, I think. We do this from 42 on, but we use Ceph with Rook to orchestrate everything, and you get a solution sort of similar to vSAN. It's completely different, and also a lot is the same. And then, of course, we use Talos as Talos. We do that in a variety of ways, actually, and one of them is through Omni, and we also use Omni SaaS, happily provided by Sidera Labs, to develop some parts of our platform. We use it because it's the easiest, best way to create and destroy clusters. We do that through automation, so we hardly ever see the interface of Omni these days, except for testing the publishing of the services that get added here. That's was a really nice feature when it was added. But this is what we do, but we also host it on top of our platform now as well, where it can talk to a local KubeVirt to bring a sort of unified platform where you can have OpenStack, Ceph storage, and Omni-managed Kubernetes clusters in one paradigm, in one system, and you can shift your sort of where most of it exists. That looks a bit like this. 15 seconds. So it looks like this. We actually experimentally also can do OKD. Yeah, it's nice, but it's not why I'm here. It's nice that we can do it actually, but if use Omni, that's much better. This is what our platform is. So we have how we do see our managed services, so what we do, how we think about the world, what we need in changes, how we manage that, and how we look at it. So choices are made there. This is all a management plane that will not look very different from a lot of management planes. So there's a lot of stuff happening there, and that gets all pushed, and all the clusters get created automatically and managed in sort of the quality-wise without any configuration drift, as you know. So. And on top of that, we do Kubernetes. The virtual machines we refer to, that's just KubeVirt, and then we have OpenStack, which is true infrastructure as a service, where we just give people a tenant to log into. So flying through the lessons learned. Oh, that's too much flying going on. I think our most important lesson is we made some architectural choices about 2 years ago about we're going to do this with Talos. And we called Sidera Labs, and we've been working together, and we added all kinds of layers and stuff to it, and we actually never had to make a big shift. Because it just works. It doesn't just work as in, oh, it's fixed and simple, but it is solving a lot of our problems that we had, and there's no reason not to do it with Talos. Also, an orchestrator doesn't replace the need for domain knowledge, and this is also true for Kubernetes. So understanding how Kubernetes works, understanding how Rook works, doesn't replace understanding that what Ceph needs, or OpenStack needs, and this becomes more important as you go down in the infrastructure to the hardware, where actual infrastructure choices are made. So hardware bound, bad design is bad experience. Wrong is wrong, but right, it just means fit for purpose. I can tell you a lot of ways how you shouldn't definitely do Ceph, for instance, but there's no one way of doing it right. And troubleshooting is an interesting one. Troubleshooting OpenStack is often easier because you're at the service levels, but as soon as something goes horribly wrong, lower on Ceph, for instance, and you have to do that through an immutable operating system, it's difficult. And that's also the last part, so that's it. Sorry. Thanks.